Hi everyone. It looks like there is a new trailer for Alien Romulus, so I thought what I would do really quick is give it a watch. I haven't seen it yet because I noticed that it was playing during an ad, and it looked new. So I stopped. I turned off the video that I was watching so the ad wouldn't finish. And after I got done with breakfast, I told myself I would sit down and just go through it, sort of watch it, and give my reaction. And then after that, provided there's enough new stuff to talk about, or if there's anything new to talk about at all, I would go through and break it down bit by bit. So, without further ado, um, let's give it a watch.
Are you sure you want to do this?
So, more shots of the world they're leaving.
There she is.
You want to break in and steal highly regulated equipment.
Okay, so they're
This could be the only
thieves.
ticket out of here.
They're not working.
Should be in and out in 30 minutes.
They are redistributing the labor and wealth.
Welcome to the Romulus space station.
Sound effects. Mother. So Mother from. There's a lot of cool stuff. Also, I'm a little tired, so. I love the lighting though. Like everything's very.
What the hell is this?
This is all new. But- so they're armed robberies. This is breaking and entering, but also armed robbery, as far as I can tell.
What the fuck was that? Young?
Stop playing around, man. Just get up.
I'm not playing around. There's something in the
I like
water.
how they're showing a
What do you
scene.
mean there's something in
I
the
don't know.
water?
There's just something in the fucking water. Run.
Are you alright?
Navarro! Navarro! I don't know what to do.
Whatever comes, we'll face it together.
Let's go.
Impact event in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Huh. Okay, well, they definitely showed a lot. So yeah, definitely a lot of stuff to talk about. Um, definitely, like most of what I saw, the one thing I was trying to say, I didn't want to interrupt, and I just want to see everything unfold, was that I'm like, okay, I get it, the face huggers, you know, and with a trailer like this, it's kind of tricky because um, they don't want to show too much, even though we all know what we're basically dealing with. But at the same time, it becomes a question of can they nail the big chap or not? And can they get the monster effects down? And that was kind of a problem with Alien Covenant, even though I like that movie. And right now I'm writing a book chapter about the Promethean quest, which basically is what Alien is. So my head's really up in that space right now. And watching all of this is just sort of a confirmation that, this kind of story is still very much important to people. Uh, Obviously, it's something that Fox wants to keep making money with. See it, see it in IMAX. It's scary, oh boy, they're still trying to make money and milk the public for that the way that they did with Alien, going on 50 years ago. Um, but it's also important too because there's a neoliberal critique, and you could argue that it's recuperated and they're taking that neoliberal critique from Aliens and they're using it to just sort of widen their audience base to, it's like voting where you appeal to different people, you make certain promises and forms of representation. Don't worry, this movie's about you, poor people who have to feel like you need to steal to survive because of criminogenic conditions. But all the same, there isn't anything, it's better to have things like that if the message is something that can be taken from the film and used in some shape or form. If it inspires people to become more class conscious, then I'm like, okay, great. It's the same problem with something like Andor. It's a wonderful show. It's really, really good. But no matter how good something like that is, you still have to take it and do something with it as a matter of praxis. So I kind of view anything in Alien Romulus like that, where I might be like, okay, it's recuperation if it ultimately apologizes for itself. And that's not really something I can tell from this trailer. In other words, if it's going to be like James Cameron's Aliens or not. The vibe I'm getting is they go to this space station to try and break in and steal this technology, right? The fire of the gods. They're going to the space station, which is abandoned, derelict, very similar to Samus in Metroid Fusion. There's a breakout in the science facility, and then this monster is running around, and they have to play hide and go seek, cat and mouse, with Stompy. And that is obviously something that is kind of clashing with the idea to elevate as a matter of stealing from the rich is running into this Promethean wall. The thing that they're stealing is the fire of the gods, right? So they're taking that the way that Prometheus would, except they're stealing it from the bourgeoisie. And it's the same kind of story as Prometheus, except instead of Wayland going and taking it from some faraway alien civilization, you have these poor workers going and taking it from a human installation, like a Earth human civilization. They're all human. Like all of this astronoetic kind of stuff is literally just projecting human colonies into outer space and normally presenting those as alien, like at the Mountains of Madness with the old ones coming from the stars. That's literally just the atrocities of capitalism and Cartesian thought coming home to roost and being found. Oh, we can critique capitalism if we say that it's something that was found. You're projecting that off onto another civilization, another empire that, as it just so happens, is predicting the fall of mankind through this kind of technology. It's always a weaponized technology that is abused. So all of that kind of shit is fun. I really like it. Watching this, it's kind of neat to see that Marxist critique butt up against the Promethean quest. So cool, fun. So that's just kind of my thoughts right now because I have writer's brain, and it's funny that this trailer came out just as I was writing this chapter. So I'm like in PhD mode. Like when I wrote my PhD and when I wrote my master's thesis, I'm just very inundated in that kind of theory, and it's revolving around this kind of stuff. Like I'm looking at Metroidvania predominantly, so like Axiom Verge and Hollow Knight and their palimpsests, so Alien and Forbidden Planets and At the Mountains of Madness and various other stories like that that go all the way back to Frankenstein, obviously, but then of course Hamlet even, and Midsummer Night's Dream and The Tempest, which is connected to forbidden planet, but they kind of bounce back and forth, and there's a lot of inspiration. And of course, in this story, it's Romulus, which I think were the two wolves, or men raised by wolves. I forget exactly how the legend goes, but these two entities find Rome, and then one of them kills the other. This is Cain and Abel, basically. So that's thrown into this particular story, where you don't just have the Promethean myth, you have the myth of Romulus, and then there's all the other shit I talked about too. So that's just like the fact that the movie's even getting me to think about all that is good. Though just about anything is going to get me to sort of respond critically, but this seems primed for that kind of thing, which is nice. So yeah, it opens up with the girlfriend and the boyfriend, and she's like, "Ooh, honey, are you sure this is a good idea?" And
Are you sure you want to do this?
And she asked that, but then they show, again, Jackson Star Colony, I think is what that says. And then there's a bar. So this is a mining camp, basically, and you have the Blade Runner type vehicles overhead and the atmospheric processor. So in the shadow of the Coliseum, not actually a Coliseum, but just a great, powerful corporate structure, it's very industrial looking. Everything's very black and yellow. Like industrial, that industrial sort of striped pattern that you see in factories. Everything looks like that. It's a factory hellscape on Saturn, as far as I can tell. So she asked that question, then we cut to this. And it's like, yeah, they're not doing this because they want to. It's dangerous. It's probably a capital offense, right? They pay for it with their lives. But their lives suck, so they want to try and improve them by taking a risk. Oops. I just want to say that, I like the shot really reminds me of the planet in Alien Covenant, and it's not bad though. Like everything looks good, as someone who paints like clouds and sci-fi settings myself, seeing all the different variation with the atmosphere and just the different cloud types looks pretty cool. Though again, not just the black and the yellow, but also the black and the orange, sort of a Halloween scheme. And every Alien movie kind of has its own thing. Green and black, blue and black. So this is like orange and black.
There she is.
So there she is. It kind of reminds me, there she blows, right? Moby Dick and the whale. So their white whale in this case is chasing the money of this corporation, and they're sort of touching down. So this is a job, but it's a heist. And again, the spaceship effects look really neat, and it's the camera is attached to the ship as it's rotating around their target. You see similar shots like this, especially in Prometheus, as they're preparing to land and investigate. Again, the Promethean quest here is they're investigating a fallen colony that's brought much closer to home. It's still in outer space, but it's a human satellite.
You want to break and steal highly regulated equipment.
I like the sound effects and things. Like, you have sound effects that are actually like edited to go with the footage in a way that feels a little bit more cinematic. And trailer music is kind of its own thing, but it has sort of an atmospheric feel to it that kind of gives me the vibe of what we might actually get in the movie. You have to excuse me, I have allergies at the moment. I like what I see. I like the cross-cutting, and she's talking, and they're talking over the footage, and you get the sense of, the close-up of their portraits, but then the tiny little ship floating through space. It's a neat contrast.
Be our only ticket out of here.
Only ticket out of here, and then you cut to the planet, which looks very hellish. The rings look kind of cool, too. And I don't know, is this supposed to be Saturn? And if so, why does it look like that? My guess is that if it is Saturn, it's obviously well into the future, but it could also just be another solar system. And so they really are on the frontier, like the final frontier. So not just within the boundaries of our own solar system, but another. And just to give it an added layer of distance. So it's a human satellite, but it's on the fringes of space, and it's not like next to home necessarily. So like Alien, but again, it's a human colony that's fallen victim to the finding of this technology previously, which is a metaphor for capitalism, right? And these people are going to go in and walk into the ghosts of that, the ghosts of Rome and Romulus, right? And also just I like the ship and the lights. Looks like a little face, kind of, and it all looks really good.
Should be in and out in 30 minutes.
Home in time for dinner. And then you have the different crew. These guys, like each other. He has a headband. It looks like, kind of reminds me of Parker, but also Corey Feldman and the Lost Boys for some reason. The sets, everything looks great. There's not really a lot new to say about any of that. So in this, the couples are part of the same crew, and they're doing a heist. So this isn't like Alien Covenant, where they're part of a colony in a ship like Noah's Ark. Like it's specifically called a colony ship in that film. And because the colonization of space is something that's being critiqued through the Promethean narrative. And it's not like in Aliens where you have Drake and Vasquez who are lovers, you're just too bad. And in this, they're thieves. So it's something that, as far as I can tell, we haven't really seen in the Alien movies too much. Though it does make me think of the crew from Alien Resurrection, where they are kind of a ragtag bunch. They're mercenaries, but they're not hijacking the space station in that movie. From what I understand, there's a point where they get held under lock and key by the guards, and they have to sort of rebel and fight back. But that's still different. Like this, it's premeditated. They're deliberately breaking into a place to steal from it, whereas those guys in Alien Resurrection weren't really doing that. And there might be some other examples of thieves in the Alien story, but it's usually workers against a corporation, where these guys are technically working. Stealing is work, but they're not employees. Or if they are employees, they're quitting their day jobs and they're basically pulling a Pulp Fiction. They're holding up the diner, and that's neat. That's an aspect of class consciousness and rebellion that hasn't really existed in the mainstream movies so much.
Welcome to the Romulus space station.
I like the sound effects, obviously from the original for nostalgia purposes, but again, it's a real screen behind, with some grid on it and stuff, so it feels like a real old school CRT kind of monitor sort of thing. You get a feeling that it's analog. I forget if Mother 9000 was the number series for Mother in the original film with the M-class Starfreighter. It also makes me think of Hell, obviously, which the computer in Alien was obviously a reference to that film, and now this is a reference to Alien. Though it has the dashes instead of the periods, but the same kind of idea. This guy, I think, is our resident android, because he's the one whose eyeballs go all weird. And it's kind of cool, too, because we've seen the rings from the outside. Now he's looking at them from inside. So it's an inside-outside kind of thing. Very neat. I just want to say real quick the detail of the shot where it goes from focusing on him in the foreground to the detail of the wall panel and the rings and the reflection. So it's just neat photography that's taking the rings, the computer generated rings, and working those into it's combining a digital shot in the background with the windows, which in the original Alien didn't look very good. So it's a pretty dynamic photographic shot that's combining digital effects to make it look like dynamic windows like in Aliens. So that's neat. I can't tell. Like one thing I don't really like with the trailer, not the movie, is just these tacky like font things. Like I get it, but it doesn't really have that Alien kind of font style. So just like the editor and me is like, oh, they really should have used a different font. And it looks a little comic booky. I don't know. Just it's not the choice I would have gone with in Alien specifically. But whatever. This looks like some kind of tentacle with teeth. So I guess we'll find out what that is. Again, it's a nice shot. Everything in this movie is wonderfully photographed. Yeah, and just like they're going into the space station and it's waking up, but it's run down. And I like how one of the fans is out, and then you have this lighting over here, which looks like a room maybe that's been barricaded or something. I can't quite tell. Last stand, huh? Must have been a hell of a fight.
This place gives me the creeps.
So you have a small crew of guys, and they're just kind of walking through. So the land of the gods at this point is asleep, and by walking through it, they're disturbing the gods and waking them up. If Super Metroid is a pretty famous example of that, but that was riffing off of Alien when the computer wakes up and then it wakes up the crew. Though in Alien's case, the ship is entering the godly territory. Here, they're walking into the ship, which is infected with the presence of the gods. So this is the ducks, like with Dallas in the original Alien, and there seems to be some kind of like opening behind him.
What the hell is this?
Oh yeah, okay, so it's an opening, but it has like these plastic sheets that's hanging over it, which again are sort of an orange or yellowish kind of color.
I don't know.
They're like, what is this? And then they see the growth. You kill me, man, I only work here. And then, of course, you have the orange lighting for some reason, the mood lighting. And then here, yeah, again, this font, I really wish they wouldn't have it. It's just, no, don't. Like, they're advertising it in a very tacky kind of way. Also, just real quick, this movie does remind me a lot of Doom 3, and if you ever played that game, there's the scene where the guy has the lantern, and he's walking through the long area, and then you have the gun, and you're following him. It really reminds me of that scene, which is cool, because I love Doom 3. It's atmospherically my favorite Doom game, apart from the PSX version of Doom 1, 2, and Final Doom. So I'm really excited to see some Doom 3 references. The gun itself, I'm not sure I'm totally sold on the design, but we'll see some shots of it later where I kind of like it because it reminds me of the flamethrower units from Alien, but also, if I remember correctly, the pulse rifles in Alien 3 kind of looked sort of white and PCP pipe-ish, photo-bashed, kind of, I don't know, plastic. And but yeah, I don't hate it. It's kind of a cross though between Doom 3, Alien and Alien 3. There's a lot of different things going on. And she like pauses, and then he stops, and she's like, "Oh, what did you see?" And then so it cuts to another thing, and this is that shot that we saw from before in the original teaser trailer, what have you. And these are the facehugger incubators, and if you look closely, you can see them sort of sandwiched. They almost look like they're vacuum sealed.
The fuck was that?
And in this, we actually have a taste of a scene where, you know, you get the feel for the editing of the film, hopefully, where, you know, it starts with them splashing into the water, and then the people, you know, it's a Jaws kind of moment. It's combining Jaws with Alien, basically. And it also suggests that, you know, the facehuggers, they're not very big, but they're still able to trip this guy. You know, they probably grab onto the vents or the grating under the water, and then they use their tail to pull on his ankle or something like that. I could see something like that working.
Young?
Stop playing around, man. Just get up.
I'm not playing around. There's something in the water.
There's something in the water, Gob.
What do you mean there's something in the
No,
water?
there's just something in the fucking...
So there's a multiculturalism kind of thing going on because they have different accents and different ethnicities. You know, so it's a melting pot.
Water.
And again, you know, this is such an old, tired gag that it's like, okay, like, yeah, the facehugger, it can still work really well with editing. I can still watch Alien and jump because the editing is really well done in that film. But here, it's a trailer, you know, so it would be hard for them to set up that kind of suspense because it takes time. And generally, you have to be able to relax for minutes on end and then build up that kind of tension. So there's not really enough time to do that here, but we're getting kind of a feel for the flow of the action and stuff like that, I think. So it doesn't look terrible. I think we would need to see the scene inside the movie and experience it to see if it's a jump scare that's done right or not. Because Alien has jump scares in it, but I think that they work pretty well. Okay. I like this too, that they all kind of attack at the same time. And then he tries to call for help, and it's shoving its tentacle down his throat. And he resists its advances. And then it cuts to this guy.
Run.
So he says run, and I have to wonder if they find him on the station, and he kind of knows what's up. And then the facehuggers actually break through the glass. I'm guessing they use acid or something like that. And then we get a look, and you see some of the designs that mirror the Nostromo from the inside of the, that ship in the original Alien. So that's kind of cool. I hate this. I get it's a trailer, but it looks really tacky. It's like, yes, go and see it in theaters now. And I'm like, oh, that's a cool. The facehugger itself, the details of it, okay, so she gets facehugged, and this is a little time lapse, right? Because it shows her before, during, and then after. So you basically see this character, their entire life cycle in the movie. But the detail of the facehugger itself looks, pretty good. It's a little funky. The design does look different. I can't quite see the knuckles of this particular specimen. It almost looks sort of mushroomy, but it's kind of hard to make out the bones and stuff like that. It doesn't look terrible though. It's an actual, prop, so that's good. And then, so this is the same character. They're pulling it off. You can see the tentacle coming out of her mouth. She's deep throating that. And I can't tell if they used like a dildo or something. It's like, okay, swallow this. It'll look great on camera. I like that too, though, because you see the facehugger and then pulling the tentacle out of the woman's throat, but then you see kind of the reverse of that, with the tentacle with teeth coming out of the xenomorph's face. And they show us about halfway through. Admittedly, it was already a shot that we'd seen. Same idea here.
Are you alright?
I like that too. You can hear the original sound effects from the facehugger chest burster after it pops out of Kane's chest. It makes that sound right before it runs away. So Nimura is getting ready to die here. So the chest burster pops out. She gives birth. She's not happy. And then they decide to do the Prometheus siren thing. I mean, they did it in the original Alien, but here the way that they're editing it feels a bit more like how they did it with the Prometheus trailer. It's also slower. So there's a lot of different shots here that it looks like maybe the ship's crashing and then that was a person who got pulled through the centrifugal force or whatever. And some kind of defense mechanism. This almost looks like a very vaginal, so vagina dentata, basically. This guy's like, I guess I'll go see what this is. Yeah, so he's like, I wonder. It's the headband guy. So Corey Feldman is going to check out the pussy tooth, which, so they're not, they're showing us who's gonna die in the movie, basically, before the movie comes out. So if they're doing that, it's not about surprising us, because the movies like these always have Leibowitzes, right? The red shirts from Star Trek. That's not, anything new. Hopefully what they're hiding is the gore. Like, they're cutting away as soon as he gets stuck here. You don't see the blood or anything like that. So hopefully he has a nice gruesome death at the very least. So it looks like our android buddy here is giving them access to these weapons, which again look kind of like the flamethrowers from the original Alien, just kind of kit bashed a little bit. They're very rough and plasticky and covered in paint, but it's like just kind of messy looking and gritty. I like that.
Whatever comes.
Oops. Yeah, these weapons look like, you can see the clip kind of thing, and this is the receiver or the feeding bar or whatever that's called. I'm not a gun person, but it's obviously a rifle, and there's a little ammo counter here, and then they have numbers, so I guess they only have a certain number of these on a ship. You wouldn't want to have too many guns because of mutinies, and this is basically what they're doing right now. Is that it's not a mutiny, like it's an abandoned vessel, but normally the only person who would have a gun is the captain. So there's obviously just a numbered, limited amount of rifles on the ship, and that's cool. Again, it sort of looks screwed together, just almost like a prototype model, with none of the fancy bells and whistles. It's a very curious kind of design, very utilitarian, almost like they were made out of spare parts. It's an interesting look, while also sort of paying homage to the pulse rifles from Aliens, of course.
Comes.
Yeah, no, and there's a lot of like little details, so there's this like that thing that I can't quite. Yeah, so there's like this boop kind of thing. I don't know what this is, if it's just like a harness or something like that. with the gun. Definitely more Aliens vibes, though, where the weapon attaches to the body to stabilize it, because the smart guns in Aliens were literally Steadicam vests. So it's kind of a cross between the pulse rifle and a smart gun a little bit. That's the feeling I'm getting anyways. And this, I can't tell if this is the heroine from the start of the movie. So if we go, it looks like a different person. Like, she has long hair and her hair looks shorter. She could be wearing it in like a ponytail, but I don't know. And then the ammo counter, everything's nicely photographed. I like the zoom, the way it focuses in on this particular part of the screen. And then, yeah, boop. And then, though again, it almost looks like it has pips instead of a number counter. So I don't know if it only has a certain number of shots, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or whatever, as opposed to, you know, in the double digits. So it's more like a rail gun or something. Oop. Okay, so this is the Aliens moment, right? So this is the Hicks guy. He's like, okay, baby, this is how you shoot. And she's like, oh yeah, sure, whatever. And
Together.
yeah, so together. So they're really stressing the love kind of thing, because Hicks and Ripley were just like, whatever, you know, girls have cooties, but you're kind of cute, and I'll show you how to use a gun. Whereas in this, you know, they're trying to survive in a way that mirrors that, but I think that they're actually a couple, but they're thieves that, again, are trying to survive the Promethean myth.
Kevin.
Let's go.
And then our resident android is like, okay, yeah, you two, whatever. Humans and their feelings. And but then it cuts to him. It looks like him behind her, and she's firing, so it's a nice reversal, right? Where he's like, yeah, whatever. And then he's like, oh yeah, protect me, you know. So it's an interesting reversal. So it's some good editing there. But also when she's shooting, it looks like an automatic weapon. But then it also shows, yeah, no, she looks nice and tough. But then she's also drifting towards the acid, which sucks. And this is the ship from the start of the film. You can see the rings, so they're obviously doing some kind of, I don't know if this is towards the start of the movie where maybe they have to do an emergency landing, or this is towards the end when they're trying to, maybe they try and escape and then they have to go back in, or I don't know. This doesn't look like the same girl, and she's like, ooh woo, or oh whoa. So she's the Ripley character, basically, and kind of reminds me of the shot with Gandalf in Fellowship of the Ring when he sees the Balrog and the fire blows his hair back, and he's like, whoa. It's kind of the same thing here, where she's looking at the fire of the gods, right? She's staring down the awesome power of capitalism, which is sort of displaced in a monomythic dialogue. They're going into hell to try and reclaim some lost treasure, but because of the Promethean nature of it, they're going to be eaten alive. They're going to be burned alive by the power of the gods. The Ark of the Covenant from Raiders of the Lost Ark, that kind of thing. I think you have a resident android who's by her side. You can see his hand on her shoulder, and she can't look away. And you can kind of see something reflected in her eyes, but it's just too hard to see, really. That is an alien tail. At first, when I saw it, I thought it was like, I thought it was a queen tail. It doesn't look quite that big, but the way that they photographed this, so this is very much an homage to Alien. And then this is an homage to Alien instead of Aliens. And here, you know, they have the Who laser from, you know, that they took, the filmmakers from Alien took from a Who concert to get that shot. So it's a nice little homage. And this looks like the android. And the first time I saw this, the original trailer, I was like, what's he holding? So this is the lantern, basically. And I think he's breaking the beam with his fingers. But we also have to keep in mind that this in the original Alien was in the derelict. So now it's kind of like the ship, the Romulus, I'm guessing, whatever it's called, has become like the derelict. It is the derelict, you know. So it's the same, again, the Promethean ship, which is a world, it contains hell, and then hell goes to somewhere else. It bounces around like a virus. Okay, this is another shot from before. Impact event. You know, so you have the mother voice. It sounds like a new recording, you know. It sounds a little bit different, though, than the voice in Alien or Aliens. I think that was a very specific actress. Obviously, she'd be a little too old now. If she's still alive, I don't know. And then you have our resident Ripley character, you know, flexing, "We can do it!" with her little power bands. It's a neat shot. Then you have the rifle, and it's flying through the vent in 0G. And there's a countdown. I think this is the same character. It's a little hard to tell. Looks like he's pulling a lever. It kind of reminds me of the self-destruct lever from Ripley. Those huge things that she like pulls down. You know, 1, 2, the scuttle mechanism. I think that's what he's going to try and do. So instead of trying to steal from the station and make away with the loot, they are sacrificing themselves to banish the horrors of capital. Though again, the horrors of capital as something to banish, the evil technology. The thing about this myth that's sort of a paradox is that it's already present, you know. So they're abjecting it, they're pushing it away, but that's not going to like solve anything. It's like, now it'd be one thing if the weapons division didn't already have the weapons, but the symbols that these sort of represent, like nuclear bombs, Oppenheimer was literally called the American Prometheus. Like, they already have them. So this kind of sacrifice is pointless, basically. But even so, you know, for the sake of the movie, it's exciting to watch. But who knows? It would be nice to see if maybe one of them gets away with the loot, but the problem is that the loot is literally bioweapons, so you can't use it. It's blood money. That's another thing. And they're not very good whistleblowers, though. If you blow up the place, you know, you're not. Now, if it was leveled at their friends, that makes a bit more sense. Like if they're trying to save the colony from getting hit with this stuff, that actually seems like something a revolutionary would do. Like there is a bomb, and they're not stopping the company from getting their hands on it because the company already had it in this case, but rather they're trying to stop it from maybe crashing into the planet because it's only 30 minutes away from wherever they were. So that makes sense. I'm gonna say real quick here, these effects look a little like this explosion here looks a little iffy. Just the particles and stuff like that. I don't know. It's not as bad as the goofy effects in Aliens when the atmospheric processor is. Also, though, this is a static camera, so you know it's attached to the hull of the ship. That almost looked like they were flushing the alien down the toilet or something down the toilet. It's a suit. Her. So she's getting flushed down the drain, and she's got the suit. She's like, okay, she's Samus at this point, right? She's getting ready to scrap with the monster. Rower. You know, it's like, okay, so they're showing another shot of the monster. It kind of looks, it's hard to tell because you have the light with the mist and it's sort of punching through the membrane. You think that, you know, everything's dead and gone, but oh no, one final scare. I don't hate it, but the monster with the metal teeth, but then it has these transparent, gooey sort of jaws. And then that neat little sound thing at the end. Like, get tickets now, spend money on our product. But yeah, I'm so used to seeing the different alien designs, and we don't get like a super good look at the creature. Like, I'm hoping that they have like some full body shots and stuff like that, just different effects that would show it off in a way like in Alien Isolation, where you spend a lot of time hiding and watching the creature move, and it looks so good in that game. And it would be neat to see something like that here that combines a lot of different effects to do what they did in Alien Isolation in this movie. But I guess we'll see. But yeah, my opinion of the movie hasn't worsened. I think that it looks cool, and yeah, the initial response to the trailer, just my initial reaction was like, okay, no, this is good. It held my attention, and looking at it, it's not just a repeat of what they showed us before, and I'm noticing some details that didn't really make sense to me before, or I just didn't have enough information. We have the feel of certain scenes, some interactions between the characters, and already it looks kind of cool. The android he's the Vulcan. He's just and he's there for the heroine when she's staring down the monster, and then she suits up and does battle with the big bad. And I have to wonder if maybe it kind of looked like the ship that they got in on to the station gets destroyed, so maybe it's just a last stand between her and the monster. That would be kind of cool. So combining sort of like Alien with Alien 3, where this is a one-off kind of thing. We don't have a Ripley situation where she just survives or is left floating in outer space, even like Amanda Ripley. It's hard to say, but there's enough to kind of speculate. There's enough. I didn't see anything that I disliked, so that's good. That's encouraging. It makes me happy. It felt like they were kind of hiding the gore and stuff. They're kind of suggesting, okay, there's going to be a little bit more. This is kind of what the chestbursts are seeing, what to expect. But there was the guy getting stabbed in the face. Where it's like, okay, yeah, this is neat. There's someone getting hit with a tail and pulled into the ceiling. It didn't look like there was that many people, though. So unless there's a couple of other members of the crew that they didn't show, apart from, the person who's getting chest bursted and, the guy in the water. It looked like there were maybe 5 or 6 people. So maybe there's a couple more. Hopefully not too many more, because Alien, from what I remember, had 7 people apart from the 8th passenger. And then Aliens had some more. Alien Covenant kind of had one too many, or it had a similar amount, but it didn't introduce them as slowly as Aliens did, even though characters like Warbaski and Crow you see for like 2 seconds. So it's not really that different from that. Hopefully there's a nice balance between Alien and Aliens in terms of how many people there are. I'm just hoping there's more than 5 or 6, because then we only get 5 or 6 deaths. Which honestly, like Aliens, you had, Pharaoh getting killed with the windshield wiper arm. You have Bishop getting ripped in 2, so that's 2 deaths. You have Crow getting lit on fire and plunging to his death. Or Frost, rather. Hudson getting dragged to his doom. And Vasquez and Gorman, who blow themselves up. Drake, who gets hit in the face with the acid. So that's 7 right there. That's all pretty memorable. And then, of course, all the alien deaths. So hopefully in this, there's only 2 aliens, though, Romulus, right? There's lots of facehuggers, but maybe there's only 2 xenomorphs, but maybe there's more. Maybe it's an alien isolation situation, so maybe it's a red herring. There's 2 to start out with, and then they... a friend of mine said that one of the brothers is smaller and weaker than the other, so maybe they encounter the smaller one, but then there's like a bigger, tougher one. that the heroine has to fight. Hard to say. But all in all, yeah, no, this is really exciting. Very cool. I don't think there's really anything else to say, except that, you know, I was kind of hoping to see a little less facehugger, a little bit more big chap, but I imagine we'll get plenty of that just because the director said that there's plenty that they're not showing in these trailers. So that's exciting. I don't know what the runtime is for the movie, but if it's about 2 hours, or shit, even an hour and a half, I mean, because Alien, I think, is about an hour and a half. Aliens is, the director's cut is closer to 3 hours. So if it's between the length of the first or second film, I'll be happy with it because I love both of those movies. That should be fine. Hopefully we get a lot of nice human deaths, because it looks like there's something else that they're hinting at besides the facehuggers and the xenomorphs, which is that vagina dentata thing where you have like this, the walls have teeth, and so it's kind of a cross between you know, well, it's the egg with defense mechanisms built into it, which is new. And so there's some different stuff like that going on. If I had to guess, that was probably the smaller, weaker brother, maybe, and he wasn't like born yet. So that guy gets killed by the smaller, weaker kind of creature, and then it very quickly gestates outside of itself. You know, it hatches and then it grows. I don't know. So there's some stuff like that, some life cycle stuff that I can't really quite put my finger on it because it's different than anything that I've seen in any of the movies. So that's cool. Definitely don't hate that. But yeah, so let's see, it's less than a month away at this point, and I don't think I'll be able to see it in theaters. I'm a little scared because of COVID and stuff like that, but I imagine, you know, I'll be able to see it relatively shortly thereafter. And yeah, I don't know, I'm excited to watch it. And I'm also, this is good food for thought because, again, I'm writing a chapter right now about the Promethean quest in Metroidvania, which was inspired by movies like Alien. So it's a very popular kind of myth in the shadow of capitalism. So this is all going to go into that. And who knows, maybe I'll put a little bit about Alien Romulus, though I would like to watch the movie. I don't want to just necessarily write about a trailer. You know, I want to have like a final product kind of thing. But just the thing that they had going on at the start with the human vessel being the alien ship by virtue of infection, the territory of the gods, that kind of thing, is cool. I liked it. It reminds me of Alien Fusion, which is one of my favorite Metroid games. Yeah, that's about all I have to say, really. I guess we'll have to see if anything else comes out, any more promo material. They kind of do that with Prometheus and Alien Covenant, and they had behind the scenes kind of stuff that was more of a Ridley Scott kind of thing, and they brought on Adam Savage. So I don't know if Fede Alvarez is going to do that. If he did, it'd be cool. I'm going to keep my eyes peeled, but I would be surprised. I want to say that kind of stuff came out like shortly before the release of the movie or shortly after it. I'm not sure. But yeah, anyways, that's my thoughts, and it's all good. I'm excited, and if anything else comes out, I'll sit down and watch it. But otherwise, let me know what you guys thought in the comments. Are you excited? Are you fans of, you know, Ridley Scott's films, which Fede Alvarez is paying homage to, including the latter day stuff? Or are you more of a James Cameron kind of person? And what are your thoughts about how they're combining all of this? Honestly, I think it looks great, but that's just me. Usually it's a mixed bag with the latter day movies, not just Scott, but anyone who fucks around with this kind of stuff. There's going to be a lot of mixing and matching. That's the fun of it, really. It keeps things interesting and fresh. But yeah, let me know what you think, and until next time, take care.